Peacetime Memorial. That was dedicated in 1938 by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. This is the 75th anniversary of the battle. And there was close to 300,000 people still watching the ceremony, but more importantly, sitting up around that monument for over 1,800 veterans of the American Civil War. 75 years after the battle. So a lot of these guys are in their 90s, and a couple of them over 100 years old, and they would use one Confederate veteran and one Union veteran to pull on the lanyard, would open the curtains and expose the monument to the country for the first time. And the symbolism of that monument, never again will this country tear itself apart and fight in the Civil War. And the flame on top up there is never to be extinguished on purpose. Now, heavy rain and snow will put it out. The park got smart in the 1980s. They put a system in there that when the flame goes out, it will reignite itself in about 10 minutes. That way we don't have to keep sending somebody through a big ladder trying to keep it from going on. Huh? No, you keep the air conditioner on. I'd rather have that.
As long as they can.
Yeah, I'll walk up a little bit further so we'll get away.
Second stop?
Go right here.
Especially up here one.
All right, guys, we're going to get out, walk a little bit forward to get away from the bus to sound the motor, and then we'll talk about how this all starts in this area in the morning of July the 1st.
Okay. Johnny.
My name's John. Oh, spelled the same way? I did. See? What's your middle name? Victoria. Oh, my name. That wouldn't make any sense. See, Park? I told you you'd be able to see this. All this.
Huh? I'm sorry.
I don't want you to have to yell.
Oh, no. I'll be fine. That'll be fine. I'm loud enough as it is. That's what she said. I believe that. Yeah, it's beautiful here today. Imagine what it looked like at the end of the first day out here.
For the first night, for like the first day of the battle, like how many Union troops were there on the first day?
About 19,000.
And to how many Confederate?
30,000.
Oh yeah, they were completely outnumbered.
Yeah, they were outnumbered.
I believe they had to retreat to the town.
Pardon me?
They had to retreat to the town.
And I'll show you how that happened when we get up here a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, Park, you should have your hat on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. This one here, Gettysburg, Chattanooga, and Antietam are probably the best marked battlefields. This one's a full bus, so it's real time to unload now. Antietam is about 90 miles southwest of here. Not too far, just on the other side of the border in Maryland. Not too far. All right, guys, we're on Oak Hill. This will become very important on the afternoon of July the 1st. As I mentioned coming out here, Confederates are west of here and north of here. And they're all heading in that direction to meet General Lee in Cashtown. Union Army is sitting down here in Frederick, Maryland, about 30 miles south of here. Their commander has been Joseph Hooker, and he and President Lincoln aren't getting along with each other. They're arguing over supplies and strategy and how fast or slow he's moving, what to do with the soldiers at Harper's Ferry. It gets to a point where Hooker gets so upset with the president, he'll send Lincoln a telegram on the night of June 27th, which said basically, if you don't like how I'm doing this job, I'll resign. And when Lincoln got that telegram, he said, I accept your resignation.
Yeah.
He was just looking for a good reason to get rid of him. Hooker had a lot of political connections, so he didn't just want to outright and fire him. But when he said, I'll quit, you got it, buddy. You got it. And that's when he puts in command General George Gordon Meade out of Philadelphia. A good, hard-fighting, no-nonsense commander, and he's the right guy for the job. And he'll hold this job until the end of the American Civil War. Now, when Meade takes command, he knows the Confederates are west and north of here, and they're maneuvering now, but he's not exactly sure where they're at. So what he's going to do, he's going to take his large 94,000-man army, he's going to separate it into a couple of columns. And the left column, he'll put under the command of a general by the name of John Reynolds, 1st Corps commander, about 12,000 men in his unit, and a very good commander. He'll also give Reynolds the Union 3rd and 11th Corps, each one of them with about 10,000 plus men. So Reynolds will have well over 30,000 soldiers coming in this direction. And he's not exactly sure where they're at, so they're going to send him up here. And what the job is to find, it's going to be called a reconnaissance and force, and Reynolds is going to be coming in this direction here. What he's supposed to do is find your opponent, bring into combat, hold on to him until the rest of the soldiers can get here, the rest of the army can get here. But if he can't make contact with Lee's army, then at the minimum, he's to get Union soldiers in the Gettysburg area by mid-morning on July the 1st. So what's happening now are both armies are just slowly getting closer and closer to each other. And on June 30th, Confederate scouts in this area will start to hear the farmers talking about Union soldiers approaching the town. So they're going to send some scouts into town to check it out. And they're going to look down towards Maryland, and they're going to see coming up one of the roads, veteran Union cavalry. And that surprises them. They're expecting to see local militia, which are young boys and older men with outdated military equipment, and they're not going to stand and fight against veteran soldiers. So they see that these are veterans, and remember that Lee said don't pick any fights with anybody. They turn around and go back towards Cashtown. They tell the commander there what they just saw, but that commander does not believe them. So, no, that has to be nothing but militia, because we haven't heard from Jeb Stuart yet. Well, you're not going to hear from Stuart for a couple more days yet. So he's going to send 7,000 Confederate soldiers with supporting artillery down the Cashtown Pike. If you look down across the field there, you see the white barn down there. I can't believe there's a car going on the road right beside it. I think there's one coming out the other way too. Well, that's the Cashtown Pike. And those guys are going to come down that road expecting a nice easy walk in and out of the Gettysburg, with no problems, and then go back to Cashtown when everybody else shows up. Well, when they get here, it's not going to be Union, it's not going to be militia troops. It's actually John Buford's veteran Union cavalry. And John Buford, very good cavalryman. He's from Kentucky, and he's done for Meade what Stuart has failed to do, for Lee. He knows the Confederates are west and north of here, and they're moving now. He understands how the roads can be used here. And he also knows that Reynolds and his large force are now just across the border down here in Maryland, due in Gettysburg the very next morning. And he wants to make sure those Union soldiers can get here. So what he does, he only has 2,700 cavalrymen. Not enough to stop any large Confederate force, especially infantry. So what he's going to do, he's going to take his men, he's going to send them 3 miles west of here and stretch them in a big arc 3 miles north of here. He's basically setting up roadblocks just to slow things down, trade space for time, give that infantry time to get here in the morning. He's already sent a rider down to Reynolds headquarters telling Reynolds, don't sleep in tomorrow, get up here quickly, things are starting to develop. So in the morning of July the 1st, those Confederates will come marching down that road, and they'll get 3 miles west of here, and a young cavalry lieutenant from Illinois will stand up and take a shot at them. And that's the opening shot of the battle. And that forces the Confederates to get off the fields and off the road into the fields in battle formation. That takes time. And that's exactly what Buford wants. And then those cavalrymen will hold off the Confederates from one ridge to another until they get to the ridge down here by the barn, the McPherson's Ridge. When they get there, Buford is now getting concerned. He may not be able to hold them back much longer. He may actually have to abandon the Gettysburg area. But before he issues that command, he gets word that Union soldiers are coming across the field behind him. Reynolds is getting here just in time. Now, Reynolds has over 30,000 men coming, but he only gets here initially with 3,500 men. But it's enough when he puts them across the road down there by that barn, and the Confederates hit that line, this thing just explodes. Lee said, do not pick any fights. And against his orders, without his knowledge, his subordinates just picked the biggest fight in the history of the Civil War. A couple hours before Lee was still coming across the mountains here, is going to realize, something is wrong here. He's not going to be very happy about the situation when he finally arrives here. So the battle's going to start down there by that barn, in the woods behind it. And in the early stages of fighting, the Union soldiers do a good job. They stopped the Confederates. They actually forced them to retreat back over there where you see the houses on the ridge over there, Hers Ridge. But in that first initial fighting, the commander on the field, General John Reynolds, is killed in action. And the guy who takes over for him is a general by the name of Abner Doubleday. And Doubleday will take over. He'll do a very good job that day. He'll fight a very good battle. He'll hold the Confederates off for as long as he can. You know, he doesn't get credit for what he does. He gets credit for things he's never done, like baseball. You know, but he doesn't get credit for what he does out here on July the 1st. But he did a good job. Now, after the first morning fighting is over with down there, Doubleday will look up here to this hill. This is high ground on his flank. And he wants to get soldiers up here. So he's starting to send some men down through those woods right over there to your left, my left over here. About 1,600 Union soldiers coming in that direction. And as the first units start to come out of the woods down there, they see Confederates pouring across the top of this hill. And these are the Confederate, excuse me, these are the Confederates who were up by Harrisburg and Carlisle. They were all heading in that direction to meet General Lee in Cashtown. When they got up that morning, only 6 miles north of here, they heard the sound of the gunfire. They just turned and came in this direction. And those first regiments that got here and lined up on this hillside, they're looking right down Doubleday's defensive line. And I'm sure their eyeballs got as big as silver dollars. They're thinking, man, this is going to be easy. All we got to do is roar down this hill, hit those Yankees in their flank, roll up this line, and by midday, this whole thing is over with. Didn't see the Union soldiers still in those woods over there, staying out of sight. So the initial Confederate assaults off this hillside, very poorly coordinated on their part, are going to be driven back with very severe losses. However, more Confederates are arriving on the scene. Now they take the time to coordinate with those Confederates over there. So the next attacks on this hillside, on this field, very better coordinated, will start to slowly but steadily drive those Union soldiers back. The Union soldiers up here make a very good fighting withdrawal. They're not going to break and run. They're fighting hard to hold their line. Now, at the same time, Union soldiers are also, more Union soldiers are arriving on the field. Now the 11th Corps is getting here, another 10,000 men. And they're coming across Cemetery Hill. You look back towards the town, find that brick church steeple over there, and go to the right of it to the tree line. About 1 o'clock, you'll see the corner of that water tower up there. You see the water tower? Just gotta look on the tree line up there. You'll just see the corner of it. Kind of hidden by the big tree there. But that's Cemetery Hill. Now in 1863, there are no trees on that hill. There are no trees down below you. There's no college down below you. Only 3 buildings. Okay, so it's wide open. You can see everything plain as day. Okay, so the 11th Corps is coming over. Their commander is a guy by the name of General Oliver Otis Howard. He would become better known in history as Uh-oh Howard. Every time he shows up, things go bad for the Union Army. It's happened in a battle prior to this one. It's going to happen here. Now, he gets here. He's the senior officer on the field now. He's in charge. He's the boss. He ignores Doubleday's suggestion of keeping a very tight defensive line toward the town of Gettysburg so the two units could join together. But he also ignores the cavalry, warning him of a large Confederate force coming down from the north. Doubleday will take out his binoculars and look north of here, and he supposedly said to a staff officer, all I can see out there are fence posts. Another officer looking through his glasses in the same direction will say, yes, but I've never seen fence posts moving like that before. But he ignores all those warning signs. He puts his men down that wide open field we just came across in a very exposed position. He doesn't give them good coordinating instructions. One unit goes way too far to the right and too far forward. The other one kind of stays down in the middle, still not formed for battle yet. Another unit's a little closer over here to where the college is today, and they're not joined together. So there's gaps all through that line. And the Confederates are going to come from the northeast and the northwest, hit that line in their flank and in front of them, and drive them off the field. But when that line down there breaks, those men start to run toward the town of Gettysburg. This whole thing west and north of Gettysburg will just start to fall apart. Union soldiers up here fighting very hard. They did a very good job until they got to Seminary Ridge, and then they saw that when this line broke, they saw Confederates getting in behind them, so then they had to get out of here too. And these guys never have been through the town of Gettysburg before. Now the Union soldiers over here are heading back towards Cemetery Hill, not because it's the high ground, because that's the way they got here. And they're going back the same way they came in, and they're not going to stop in that hill. They're heading back to Maryland. They want to get out of here. Doubleday's men, as they retreat, they'd never been through the town. They came across the fields. So when they got in there, they got caught up in that mass exodus out of here, and they're going down wrong streets. A lot of men will get captured or killed trying to get through the town of Gettysburg. Now, a couple of things are going to kind of start happening in behind the scenes. Down in Maryland, Meade has learned that the battle's been joined.
Reynolds has made contact, and that's exactly what he wanted. He was very good to hear that. Then he's going to learn that Reynolds was killed. So now his confidence goes from up here, it drops down a little bit. He figures, Doubleday's a tough guy. He'll hold until I get there. Then he finds out Howard's in command, and the confidence just goes right through the floor. Doesn't want that to happen. So he's going to get a hold of another one of his corps commanders, a guy by the name of General Winfield Scott Hancock. He's going to tell General Hancock, leave your men behind. You take your staff, you go to Gettysburg, and you take command of the field. And General Hancock, like any good soldier, is going to say, yes, sir. But you know, General Howard outranks me. I can't give him orders. So me will write on a scrip of paper that, you know, Hancock is in charge of the field until he arrives. And if Howard doesn't like it, see me when he arrives on the battlefield. But the key is Hancock arrives on that hill just as that retreat reaches the hill and starts up the hill. And Hancock sees this mob coming at him. And he wants to stop it. So he takes his staff and he spreads them out. He tells them, ride amongst those men. They ride amongst those retreating Union soldiers, yelling and screaming and cursing at them, swinging their sabers at them, knocking them over with horses, anything to get their attention. And once he gets their attention, they see that it's Hancock, they know him, and they respect him. And they also know if Hancock's here, the rest of the army is close behind. That stops the retreat on that hill, Cemetery Hill. Then Hancock looks over to his right, and he sees Culp's Hill, which is the hill behind the White Church steeple down there. And that hill was wooded at that time, just like it is today. But Hancock realized it's a little higher, and it's also on the side of the Baltimore Pike, so he's got to get that hill too. He gets men on the hill just before the Confederates can make a move to take that hill. So the day ends with those troops in that position. Lee now, I mean, his men are tired, they're disorganized, they're low in ammunition, they suffered casualties. It's getting late in the day, so the battle kind of comes to a close. So Lee now is left with a couple of options. Number one, he could just leave his men right where they're at, make the Union Army attack him. Number two, he could actually disengage and go back to Virginia, which kind of may hurt the morale of the men. They just want a good day. Now we're retreating back to Virginia. But what Lee could have done, he could have gone back to Virginia, looked north of here, and he said, I can come up there anytime I want. I can beat up on your army, I can take all the supplies I want, and you can't do a thing about it. I just proved it. That may have just inflamed that anti-war sentiment more. And Lincoln may well have not been elected in 1864. Or what a lot of us think he was thinking of doing, because what he wrote in his official reports was to disengage, go back out there at the foot of the mountains, set up a defensive line, make the Union Army attack him out there. And that's how Lee fought and won battles. It's called offensive maneuvering, defensive fighting. He picks the field, he wants you to attack him, because he always has the smaller army. Okay? But he also has a fourth option. He can attack that Union position, the worst of the four, and that's what he selects. And it's very surprising that his ability and everything, he selects that option to kind of put yourself in his position. Number one, he's seen this Union Army retreat time and time again. He's overconfident now. There they go running again. Okay? He also figures there's only 2 Union Corps over there that he just beat up on, maybe a third one, but the rest of them are still too far away. And my army's getting consolidated, and now the next day we can push them right out of that position. Not realizing, because again, the cavalry's not here to tell him what the flanks are like, or who's over there. He doesn't realize that behind those ridges, the entire Army of the Potomac is filtering in real quick. And when he gets up in the morning of July 2nd, the entire Army of the Potomac is basically over in that position. It's going to be a lot harder than when he thinks it was. So those are the reasons he makes those kind of decisions. So the first day ended. Confederates had about 30,000 men here. They lost over 6,000, killed, wounded, or taken prisoner. Union only had 19,000 made it here, and they lost about 9,000 men. So they have already suffered a lot of casualties. We're already over 15,000 casualties. But the deadliest day is coming on July 2nd, and we'll talk about that when we get down there. Okay? So you got any questions or anything, just shout them out, guys. We'll be happy to answer them as we move along or get back on the bus. Okay? All right, guys.
Yeah.